Afternoon and good evening to over 1,400 distinguished colleagues, members of the Academy, and many longtime friends from all around the world. Welcome to Esri's second Imagery and Remote Sensing Educator Summit. I'm Lori Jordan, Director of Imagery and Remote Sensing at Esri.
And I'm Jerry Miller, Director of Education at Esri and also faculty at Johns Hopkins University. On behalf of all of Esri, we wanted to welcome you today, and especially to those of you who are joining us from 111 different countries, spanning multiple time zones. So thank you for being here. The focus of today is you, that is our remote sensing and imagery educators community. And Lori, I think there's someone else who wanted to join and greet our attendees as well.
That's right, Jerry. There's another very special person who wanted to join us today, but he couldn't. But he did want to say hello, and he also wanted to add his welcome. And since so many of you are longtime friends of his, we think he probably doesn't need any introduction.
Good morning. My name is Jack Dangerman, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you here to the Remote Sensing and Educators Conference. The purpose of this meeting is to get together, to share what we're all working on collectively and make some advancements, not just in the technology that underpins our work, but more importantly, how we educate people, how we bring new students in, how we build professionals in this rapidly growing and also urgently needed technology and science. Look, the last few years, we've made major advancements in new sensors, and they just keep going up. We're beginning to learn how to measure and observe and process with things like AI and machine learning, virtually everything that moves and changes on the planet. And both the temporal as well as the spectral dimensions are continuing to expand. At the same time, here at Esri, we've been building stronger tools to be able to ingest that information, to be able to manage the large volumes in the cloud with things like Kubernetes, big data analytics, and then analyze and turn it into actionable data with AI and machine learning, and also just simplified ways so that mere mortals can have access to the remote sensing data and implement it in practical ways on maps and in settings of decision making and in support of action like supporting fires or supporting floods or supporting disasters, but also just improving the way people do agriculture and forest management, land use planning. The whole world, which has historically been kind of researchy, nothing wrong with that, but researchy is getting connected into practical GIS tools that can take the measurements and take them right into the field and create actionable workflows, support actionable workflows with them. So, ladies and gentlemen, I really appreciate you taking the time to come to this conference. We have some great speakers, and we're looking forward to sort of this exchange where we all grow together. I want to say thank you again, and we'll look forward to working with you and hopefully next meeting, collaborating with you face to face.
Thanks, Jack. Well, let's begin and let's get started by taking a quick look at some of the goals that our team had in mind when we were envisioning the purpose of the summit. An overarching desire from the beginning here at the top of the list was to provide a platform or a forum for members of the Academy to basically share not only with us, but with each other, the amazing success stories and progress that you're making throughout higher education in imagery and remote sensing. We also want to discuss some of the methods and strategies for teaching that are evolving, that are very creative in this academic period of uncertainty as we face the pandemic, and also dealing with some of the issues and challenges that continue to persist. What can we do to help grow the importance of diversity within the workforce that we're training to be the future leaders of education, imagery, and remote sensing? And what are some of the challenges that we're facing as educators? This seeming tidal wave of new software and capabilities that are inundating us on a continual basis. We'd like to share with you some of the new capabilities that are just now being developed by Esri, and you're going to be among the very first people to see some of these new tools and actions. Those are on the agenda. And this will give you a voice as far as an input into the software development priorities and the roadmap to make sure that we're focused on the right capabilities that you need so that we can help you be successful and we can be of service to you. And lastly, and I'd say probably most importantly, we want to learn from each other. This is part of embracing continuing education as part of a lifelong learning as we all aspire to be students for life. So Jerry, I know you have a very compelling and rich agenda you want to share with us, but maybe just before you do that, there are 4 very special people who have been instrumental, along with their supporting organizations, to help us bring this summit to life. Jerry, could you tell us a little bit more about them, please?
Absolutely, Laurie. So we wanted to extend a special thank you to all of those wonderful colleagues from the academic community that you see on the screen. This event simply would not be possible without them. They were with us all along the way, from planning this event, brainstorming, thinking through all the sessions that we're going to include in the event. They were part of numerous meetings that took place, and also they are either hosts or moderators or panelists in some of the sessions that we see coming up in these next couple of days. So special thanks to Jarlath O'Neill-Dune at University of Vermont, Dr. Tommy Jordan and Dr. Margaret Madden at University of Georgia, Center for Geospatial Research, as well as Karen Schuchman at Penn State University. So thank you, wonderful colleagues. And also just a special shout out to our Society for Photogrammetry and Remote Sensing, ASPRS, for supporting the summit and for being an integral part of it. So thanks again to those wonderful colleagues, and you'll see them as we go through the event. So we would like to also learn a little bit about you, that is the audience who is here today. So what you're going to see is a number of polls, or a poll that comes up with 3 different questions on the screen. So if you wouldn't mind answering these questions, and the first one is, what best describes your level of familiarity with ArcGIS? And I know this is kind of, it could be a little bit vague, but obviously pick the option that most describes you. And then there are a couple of other questions in terms of which remote sensing software packages you use today, as well as which drone processing software packages you use today. So let's take half a minute or so to answer these questions, and we'll share the results here in a little bit. So folks are still entering answers. We can kind of see the bars going up and down or side to side. And we'll share them here in a second. All right, so let's go ahead and let's share the results. Looks like most of the polls are done. So great. So most of the folks have sort of that intermediate knowledge level of ArcGIS, lots of experts as well, some beginner, and not too many are new to GIS. There are only a few that are there, so about 1%. That's wonderful. Again, lots to learn regardless of all of these sort of different levels of familiarity. And also lots of different packages that are out there when it comes to remote sensing, when it comes to drones technology. And we'll discuss as we go through some of the sessions today, and even as we're kind of brainstorming these sessions, there was this notion that, yes, of course, there's lots of options out there, but there's value to having using one package that kind of has all of these different wonderful capabilities. So some of that is going to come through as we go along. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about the agenda for these couple of days. So today we have some wonderful lightning talks planned. There's a session of lightning talks tomorrow as well. The way we structured it today, we're going to focus a little bit more, as much as we could, of course, on teaching and learning. Tomorrow it's going to be a little bit more research oriented. And we have 3 different working groups. So the topics of these 3 different working groups, so drones is one topic, 3D imagery, and GeoAI, and we'll define what GeoAI is. But these are sort of the topics that we came up with, again, in collaboration with our colleagues that you saw earlier on the slide, and just seeing questions that are coming to us from the academic community. So we'll have lots of expertise as we're going through these different working groups and these discussions. So we look forward to that. And today we'll conclude with a closing session, a little bit more activities, a little bit of networking, a little bit of hearing more of your thoughts in terms of what you think about discussion so far, as well as things that we could be doing tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, so another session of lightning talks. Then we have a couple of special sessions. One of them is how the Academy works with Esri. And what we really mean by that is when we think about the Academy, we think about the academic community. And lots of the questions that we get from the academic community are things like, I think there's ArcGIS on campus. Sometimes I don't know how to get access to ArcGIS, or I don't know where to go to for help, or I don't know, I know we have the technology on campus, but I don't know exactly what's included. And also, as an educator, what are some of the resources that are out there to help me get started or supplement my curriculum and so on? So we'll take a look at that in this session. And we also have a session on what's new with Esri Imagery and remote sensing, and Peter Becker, our product manager, is going to join us for that. And we'll have that discussion. We will come back to results from our working groups on those three topics, so drones, 3D, as well as GeoAI. And then we'll conclude with a closing panel, and Dr. Dawn Wright is going to moderate that for us. So lots of excitement. And so, Lori, there's really lots of capabilities that are packed into the ArcGIS system when it comes to Imagery. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the Imagery system at a high level.
Sure, Jerry, thanks. Yes, I think maybe the analogy of a tidal wave is very appropriate. There's so many things that are happening and continuing to be developed right now. But we can simplify this into a streamlined framework of 4 broad categories of capabilities, the way we think about the technology. So let's start here in the lower center of the screen by taking this massive amount of content streaming in from all different types of sensors from space, air, and ground into the cloud, where we can manage this as dynamic services, making these data available, many of the sources in near real time on demand as an information service. Then moving clockwise over to the left, we then want to take the raw data and turn it into meaningful information products, authoritative baseline products, foundation content, base maps, site models, and even derivative products. For example, terrain elevation models, digital surface models that could come from LiDAR, stereo, structure from motion, and so forth. Then moving around clockwise in the upper center, we want to then perform analysis and do observations on these data. We want to unlock the secrets that are contained in imagery and remote sensing to find meaningful information that allows us to monitor, visualize, inspect, and derive further intelligence from the raw data. And lastly, here on the right, we want to find these special patterns that are emerging over time. And this is very exciting because it allows us to see trends. And one of the most interesting aspects of this is what we call predictive analytics, where we want to be able to predict the future by looking at what happened in the past, where might it happen in the future, what might it look like, what might it contain. So there's some very amazing capabilities that are happening right now throughout this entire ecosystem. But all of these things get translated and mapped into some very specific products that Esri designs and builds. So Jerry, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that and some of the key areas of focus in 2021, particularly for the academic community.
Absolutely. So yes, indeed, there are a number of key areas of focus. They're kind of at a broad level. There are areas of focus for imagery and remote sensing for Esri, but of course that trickles in to the academic community as well. And of course, we'll continue to talk about things like collection and processing and data management, as well as analytics and visualization and so on. And there are a broad spectrum of applications that are available that give us the ability to work with all of these capabilities and to focus on these special areas. And some of these applications you might have seen already, such as ArcGIS Pro. Perhaps you've worked with Image Server or Image Analyst, maybe even Drone to Map. And there are some exciting new capabilities that are coming down, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit more about them as we go through the different sessions. SiteScan is one of them, which is a complete end-to-end solution on working with drones. And another new one that is going to be coming out currently in beta is ArcGIS Image for ArcGIS Online. And what this gives us the ability to do is to do raster analytics in the cloud. So it's completely SaaS-based, and we can do analysis, we can save our results. And again, lots of exciting capabilities that are coming down the pike.